I was watching your live stream, Megan, the one where you had the umbrella guy on, and then you were talking about the Lawtuber stuff. I still don't get all of the references. I get
Yeah.
the reference to the community, but I know that recently there's been, well, I saw your live stream about your friend Rakeda Law. I know there's a lot going on with that.
Yeah, a lot going on with that, and it was funny, Tug and I were joking that, you hadn't heard of Lawtube, and you were like, "Oh, I accept, I'll join." We're like, "Not now!
All right.
Wait!"
Oh, well, not join then. How about that?
You might wanna hold off on that. Yeah, it's funny, this LawTube thing that got created with live streaming trials is really what it's about, is live streaming trials and offering commentary throughout the trial, and that's something that Nick Raketa really created. He invented it, and it took off and became a giant new form of entertainment that was wildly and still is wildly popular and successful. But he was the greatest. He was number 1, just unbelievable talent and huge audience, huge opportunity. And, unfortunately, it's, as Mr. Medicare said the other day, he decided to light himself on fire for everyone's entertainment, and it's sad when you know somebody, personally and this happens and it's very public. So I haven't been able to really, do much more than that one live stream because it's too close and it hurts. It hurts.
Well,
I've
I
lost others to addictions and things, and it's tough to watch.
I saw Megan, you're making fun of me about not knowing what live streams are or super chats.
I was like, "Oh, look, he's learning about Superchats live. This is
Yeah.
fun."
Well, I never did live streams for the purpose of having people like participate. Certainly not to do live chats. It was just, you know what? I can't figure out all this editing shit. I'm just going to do it live. And so that way it's just there.
You
And so I
should.
figured it out. Well, as I'm learning, it's like a thing. It's like, why do people do the live streams and not the edited videos? And now I've kind of figured out why.
I told my husband about it this morning, and he was laughing too, because apparently he knows what super chats is. He's like, "You guys didn't know? You guys have been doing this
I
for
didn't
so
know.
long." I'm like, "No."
I think the moment that I figured it out was on the last live stream when Dom would say, "Hey, read your super chats, Dick." It's like, oh, look at all these.
Yeah, it was fun to watch you do that live and to kind of find this. This is the thing about live streaming on YouTube too. It comes in waves. These stories come around once in a while where they have wild interest for a while, and so the wave will just build and build and build and build. As you were, I heard you guys when I was backstage, and you were like, "Oh my God, there's 100 and some people waiting." Like, yeah, that's what happens when these things kind of take off, and then YouTube, it goes and it crests, and then it falls off, and then it comes back. The last big trial I did was the Maya Kowalski trial. Huge interest, huge crowds in that. I streamed that trial, and we
Were you
just,
there in the courthouse?
no, live streamed it on
Oh, you
YouTube.
live streamed it. Okay.
Yeah, and, that was a incredibly lucrative a time for my channel. I mean, it built a bigger audience, and you get more interest. And then this thing came around, and I found this whole other audience that had been following this on Reddit. They were really digging into all of what was these public records, and Dave Neal was the only person kind of covering it, and he isn't in the legal space, and so
Yeah.
he didn't have maybe the kind of resources that some of us do, that we've been doing this for a while.
So my first criminal trial, my first ever jury trial, was about 10 years ago. And I was representing a guy, and he was a young man. He was facing 22 years in prison if he would have been convicted on all of his charges. He was on trial for an assault with a deadly weapon. And the story was that he was about to get married, and then the ex-boyfriend was contacting the wife and like disrespecting her. So he shows up at her door, and he asks him politely to, hey, could you just knock it off? And then he gets attacked, and he gets into this fight. And then, he's attacked by this ex-boyfriend and his two brothers and his dad. And then there was this whole thing, and he's the one that ends up getting arrested. So we go through the whole jury trial. It was in the historic Riverside courthouse, beautiful courthouse. And in front of a really good judge. I was going up against this DA, and I was intimidated as hell. This guy, the DA was like I think probably 20 years in practice at that point. I'm like this peon of an attorney. And so we litigate the case, we go to trial. It's like a 6-day trial, jury deliberations for a couple of days, and my guy's acquitted, full on acquitted. And I believe my client's story. I believed him wholeheartedly when he told me that he was acting in self-defense. And as I'm waiting for the jury to come back with the verdict, I'm sitting there with my client. I mean, I'm at that time, 34 years old, 35. And this guy is just a kid, 21, 22 years old. And he's sitting there, he's contemplating, if they come back with the guilty verdict, I'm going to go to prison for 20 years. And so he's trying to come to grips with possibly losing his freedom. And with tears coming down his eyes, they read the verdict: not guilty on count 1, not guilty on count 2, count 3, count 4. He's completely acquitted. And I'm thrilled because I just won this trial. And at the end of it, we're walking out, there's about 30 minutes of, hugs and everything with the family. And then when we get out of the courthouse, like, hey, Omar, I did that, man. I was guilty. So,
oh my God. Never
like,
tell your lawyer that.
He told me after the fact, and it just led me to believe it doesn't matter how ingrained or convinced you are of your position. You never really know actually what goes on. People can convince you. People have a survival instinct to say what they got to say to get out of situations. Before I get into that, let me go in order. So let's talk about her blog post. I know that you did a live stream. I didn't get a chance to catch the whole thing, but what do you think about this, Megan?
I'm horrified by it as her lawyer. Now, there's 2 ways to look at it. One, that this is part of his strategy to basically allow her to intimidate and chill free speech through threats of, I don't know, are we allowed to say the S word here? I guess we shouldn't because we're on YouTube. But
I didn't know the YouTube rules, so I just follow what everyone
I'll just
else
say I'll just say threats of self-harm, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's either a strategy on his part to try and stop us from reporting on this by her, putting it out there that if she does something to herself, it's going to be because of what we have said or done, which is absurd. Okay. And I can't believe that a lawyer would put his rubber stamp on that without, and that he would allow her to put that out there and not go take her to get help. Because if someone is truly feeling that way, then the people closest to her, her lawyer, her family, her friends, need to make sure that she's being seen by a professional to make sure that doesn't happen. The second option is that he is possibly setting up a chance for her to get out of being at court. We know that he tried to push it off, that he wanted to have a continuance. Is he setting up a situation where the night before her court hearing, she's going to have a mental health crisis and be unavailable in either a hospital or an institution where she cannot take part in her trial? I think that could be it. Or if it's a real thing, if she really is feeling this way, which I really don't believe because this is a pattern of her behavior. She threatens suicide when I did it again. I'm sorry. She threatens self-harm. I'm very bad at this. My YouTube channel is always demonetized because of it.
No, you and me both.
I'm sorry. But she threatens self-harm whenever she gets backed into a corner or in order to hold on to someone in her life that she wants to hold on to. And I showed on my live stream many examples of that. Many examples of her threatening it with Clayton, threatening it with Greg Gillette, or with Mike Maricini, threatening it with in order to get Clayton fired from certain jobs that he was being looked at for. She's threatened with her parents. She's threatened. I mean, she's done a lot of this over many years. And it's her like go-to to shut down all argument. As soon as she throws that bomb in the mix, everybody goes, "Oh my God. Okay, what do we do?" And it's not fair because you talked about how she's saying that she's being cyberbullied. She has dragged multiple men through needless and fraudulent litigation for years, and she finally got caught. Where is her empathy and sympathy for the mental and emotional trauma that they've been through?